Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I am Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're looking at The Pale Horse.
Nope. Door.
We
were talking about horses before
I
this
jinxed
started.
myself. It's
my background. It's my background.
We are talking about The Pale Door. Now,
the door horse. No, that's not right either. What the hell?
No. Not the horse door either. All right. This is why they pay me the big bucks. Yes. I entertain you.
At least you entertain me.
Your brain was trying to go to ride a pale horse, and it just.
I don't know where I was going, but that's what tonight is, and I'm just gonna run with it. All right.
So we gonna do the whole save a horse, ride a cowboy thing now too?
Oh my God! Stop! We have something to do tonight. This is a train robbery, not a train wreck. All right. This is a hybrid Western horror, and it is. This is a Jeff Mohr film, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But let me introduce the crew, starting off with the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Doc. I had a daisy of a day.
A daisy of a day.
What does that mean, Jeff? What does that mean?
He gets us with
I'm
that.
just quoting Bill Sage from the movie.
There you go. You go.
Oh.
And I think Val Kilmer says it in Tombstone too. Something about daisies, something. A couple of daisies.
Now, see, the Western fans among us are all like, wow, yeah. All the horror fans that don't like Westerns are like, what the hell? All right, let's find out about the rest of the crew. This is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl, and there's your horses. How you doing, Crystal?
I know, a special background for a special movie. Hey.
Yes. And, of course, also joining us is Dave Dreher. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No horses here.
No
Sorry.
horses, but welcome to the
Crystal,
train.
you have to do the horse thing.
I'm riding my horse.
This isn't getting any better, guys.
I'm really bad at that. No, actually, I grew up with horses, and I know how to ride horses.
I don't, obviously. All right, we are talking about The Pale Horse. Pale Door, you keep doing it to me again. Stop talking about horses. Damn it. All right. The Pale Door. This is from RLJE Films and Shudder. It is coming out on video on demand in some theaters and other streaming devices. August 21st, 2020. I would imagine later this year it's going to be on Shudder as well. It's directed by Aaron.
It's coming to Shudder.
Yeah, it's also directed by Aaron B. Koontz. So that's how you say his name? How you say his name? Koontz. See? I need to change jobs. All right. It is written by Cameron Burns, Aaron B. Koontz, and Keith Lansdale, starring Melora Walters, Zachary Knighton, Noah Segan, Natasha Bassett, Stan Shaw, love Stan Shaw, Devin Druid, Bill Sage, and Pat Healy, the great Pat Healy, and he's wonderful in this. All right, the synopsis is, after a train robbery goes bad, two brothers leading a gang of cowboys must survive the night in a ghost town inhabited by a coven of witches. Let's give away all the secrets. That's exactly what it's about. And it is, Dave, I think you mentioned that it felt very much like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, I got a real From Dusk Till Dawn vibe off of it when I was when I was watching it.
Agree.
Once we realized that we were dealing with a bunch of horror witches.
Yes.
All hell breaks loose, and it really did. It had a real From Dusk Till Dawn vibe.
It did. All right. Well, what we do is we give our first impression, then we talk about the film a little bit, and then we end the show with our final thoughts, our scores, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for all that. But let's do our first impressions first. And Dave, I'm going to throw this at you. Go ahead.
Oh, hell, excellent. I was a little concerned about this one. Not a big fan of the Western horror hybrid. I was like, oh God, no one's really pulled one off, in my opinion, at least. But The Pale Door, they kind of won me over. I like this. I enjoyed the writing, the storyline, the whole Dalton gang storyline. The backstory on how they came to be. I just thought the whole thing worked really, really well. And then when the horror kicks in, when they get to that little town with the prostitutes and they all turn out to be, the witch coven, and then it just literally goes for the jugular. There is blood spraying everywhere.
Yes.
Practically almost all practical effects from what I could tell. I'd actually like to see this one again. I didn't get a chance to watch it a second time, but this is one, I will be watching again, and I really enjoyed it. This is a really good, I can finally say I've watched a good horror Western.
Good horror Western. You didn't.
It lassoed me.
Oh no! You didn't like Bone Tomahawk? I thought you liked Bone Tomahawk.
It was okay. Yeah, it was all right. I mean, still, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen that movie in a different subgenre.
Didn't we have werewolves too, or vampires?
They've tried to do everything at one point in time. Everything's tried to be a Western at one point.
Curse of the Undead.
Remember, even John Carpenter's Vampires was supposed to be a pseudo Western as well.
Kind of a Western, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, let's find out what Jeff Mohr thinks. He's up next. What's your first impression?
Well, I've really been looking forward to seeing this for several reasons. One is horror Westerns. I mean, I love Westerns, and I've too am looking forward to seeing good horror Westerns, and I would agree with Dave. There's not that many of them, but there are some. I would throw, I believe it's called Ravenous in there as
yes.
one.
I actually had forgotten about Ravenous. That was a pretty good one.
So that's first reason. Second reason is I am like one of the biggest Joe Lansdale fans around. I think I love everything that he's done that I've seen or partaken of, his writing and film and TV stuff. So he was an executive producer on this, but also his son Keith was co-writer. So I was really interested in seeing that. And also for Aaron Koontz, Doc may be the only one who reads books by Dean Koontz. But
Dean Koontz. Oh no, I can't believe I did that. Oh, you guys!
Oh, wow, it's so good. So good.
For a couple of reasons, because he was
I
involved
you.
in Scare Package, which we loved, and I think the parts he did are the ones that I really loved. And also, I didn't realize a producer for Starry Eyes, which was an excellent movie from a few years ago.
Yes.
So yeah, and God, the cast on this is unbelievable. These guys make this movie. Zachary Knighton as sort of the head Dalton Duncan of the gang, and his brother, interestingly enough, the character's name, his brother's name is Jake, but played by a guy named Devin Druid. Imagine having a Druid in a witch movie. I don't know.
Yes.
It's a great name.
Good one.
And I love.
Yes.
Yeah, and Bill Sage is another favorite of mine, and of course Pat Healy and Stan Shaw. Those guys just knock it out of the park. So, I think they make the film. I think there's a couple of rough spots, maybe in terms of effects, but I can overlook that for the. Well, in particular, though, there's only really one thing that bothered me, and it's so minor. It's not really worth bringing up, even though I did. But I loved it. And Dave, I've watched this 3 times already. They gave us the screeners. They gave us the screeners soon enough that, so I'm going to be looking for this one on Blu-ray. I like it. I liked lots of stuff about it. I loved the sound effects for the guns. That it didn't sound so overblown. It sounded way more realistic than what it really sounds like when you fire off a gun, as opposed to some big explosion like you hear in a lot of films. The dialogue I thought was excellent. They throw in these short little vignettes that really helps develop the character relationships in the gang and the et cetera. So I had great fun with it. And witches, and these are not your modern day witches. These are your Burnt-up crone witches.
Yes,
they are.
I can't believe that no one has mentioned that these are practically the witches from the movie The Witches. They're just burned witches, like from The Witches, which was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Scared the poop out of me.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So anyway, I
That was a
loved
scary
it.
movie.
I loved it.
You love it. All right, Crystal Cleveland, you are up next. What did the living dead girl think of The Pale Door?
So, yeah, I've probably been looking forward to this too much. And I also watched it early. Oh, wow, the green on my shirt. Look. Right, of course. Okay. Anyway, I'm so sorry. So distracted. Anyway.
Now we can't stop. Now we can't help but see the horse.
But,
Is there a horse on your shirt? Is that, sunset on your shirt.
It's a pale horse. A pale horse.
Sorry, Crystal. Just give up.
I'm just kidding. But I love Westerns and I love horror. And I was so glad that this delivered. I was actually a little concerned because I was like, I really hope I like this because I love Aaron. And I think he's so much cooler than I'm ever going to be. Such a cool, nice person. And I'm like, ooh, I hope, but I loved it. Thankfully, I loved it. But there's a lot to this movie. And I feel like the story was very concise, very simple, very straightforward. They had a lot of exposition without being too much and vomiting all over the story. Some of the shots were so beautiful to me. One of the characters eats glass and the blood is so red and rich against his pale skin. And I just thought it was beautiful. It felt very vampiric to me, even though it had nothing to do with vampires. But the witches, it's all about the witches for me. They were phenomenal. They were spooky and scary and sexy in a way. I mean, I'm a big weirdo. So yeah, they were sexy to me. I think that the acting was clearly what sold the movie overall. If I had to have a critique, I would say that the editing during some of the fight scenes needed to be tightened up. There was some points where during the fight scenes, it dragged a little too long to the point where you felt like maybe the witch should have already been attacking, but it lagged a little. And that was definitely an editing little, but that's really one of the only things that I could come up with that I like the music. I even really liked the way the movie ended, and it was an unexpected ending. It's not at all what I had anticipated, but it worked out right. It worked out properly the way it should be. I mean, it's hard to be, gay in the wilderness. That would have been very sad, actually.
It would have. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie as well. And for me, it's there's two things that really make this well worth watching under any conditions, any flaws that we may or may not ever point out here. But the cast, especially for me, Pat Healy and Stan Shaw, I thought they were fantastic. I also liked Bill Sage. I thought his character, he's kind of the he's the bad guy, right? He's the he's the one that you love to hate, and then
is that Dodd? Is his character Dodd?
Yeah, he's Dodd.
Okay, Dodd is me. Okay, that is totally me. I'm like, I don't want to deal with I don't have emotions when it's really that you're extra sensitive. So
yeah. So there's he started out being a thorn in the side, and then by the end of it, you really like him. Of course, the brothers are fantastic, and we got Noah Segan, who was in what was that? The Knives Out. He was in Knives Out. He was the funny cop.
Oh yeah.
And Mallory Melora,
Melora
Melora Walters as the head witch.
She's awesome.
She was fantastic. The way she delivered her lines and everything is just really wonderful. And even the flashbacks look great, and they're supposed to be like even way back further, right? 100,
right.
Like 200 years.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of awesome, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And but if it's not the cast, it's the actual witches. The burnt, long nose, witchy poo witches, and
so awesome.
And they're crawling on the walls, they're jumping up and down, they're doing all kinds of acrobatics, and then scratching and tearing, and Oh, they're fantastic, and there's so many of them, and they die gloriously all over the place. Like, it doesn't pay to be a burnt witch in this case. But they need. I like the the motivation. This one kid is so pure, right? And I kind of liked I liked why he was pure. It was kind of a sneaky thing to throw in there. And so this is actually a slick movie. I think, like, if you were to go for flaws, the editing is definitely it. I thought some of the shots are absolutely fantastic, especially when you're in the brothel and things are happening, and inside the church and things are happening. There were some of the shots that were when they were arriving to the town, or when they were in the town previously and they were having that gun battle. I thought were a little pedestrian. They're a little too straightforward. And it kind of lost my interest, but it really is just those exterior shots that really can't come to mind. I mean, once they get to the train heist, that's exciting and quickly paced and shot with some interesting angles and stuff. But the other ones, and I can see why, because they want to get that landscape, right? You want to get the houses, and you want to get the the buildings and the groundwork and stuff. And but it didn't have some of the alternate shots that you need to kind of make that kind of snap and pop, and it was just kind of but that, I mean, okay, I'm saying way too much, because that is actually just a nitpick.
That's how I feel about mine too. Right? I'm like, no. It
really is just a nitpick, because this movie is so much fun. You like the brothers, you like the gang, we haven't even mentioned was it Tina Parker, who plays Brenda? Is that right? She's a little badass that and of course
I was kind of sad about.
Yeah, it was. But I loved it when she was on the train, and she
with the dude. She's like, hey.
She was in charge of crowd control, so she
controlled the crowd. And then Natasha Bassett is Pearl, and that's the girl they find that leads them back to the coven. There's a lot to like about this. I think horror fans, if they can give the 30 minutes a break, right? The first 30 minutes are straight up Western, kind of like the way From Dusk Till Dawn didn't really have any vampires in the first 30 minutes or so. That's what this one does. Be patient, get to know the characters. You will be rewarded. The last half of this film is phenomenal.
I mean, it's not slow though in the beginning. I could not call this a slow burn at all, because you still have a shootout, and I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting. Right. I think it felt fast. The movie felt really quick to me.
Yeah, I think it did too, because it's how long is the film?
It's like 95 minutes.
Yeah,
it's just a little over an hour.
That's a decent amount of time. But yeah.
So I'd say like the first 30 minutes are all set up, but it's important because you want to get to know this group of characters, and each one has their own character traits, and they're not just trite characters. They actually are all really well developed, and they have their own little idiosyncrasies that kind of play off each other. And
I wonder be a sequel.
They could, and it could
be
the
pale window,
and the
or the pale railing over the port.
You guys should not be naming movies.
No. But it could be any time, right? It could be before, it could be after, it could be present day, and still have the witchy poos.
The witchy poos.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but they I don't think of the witches. I think of HR puffin stuff with the witchy poo.
It had the hook nose with the bump on it and the whole thing.
Okay. So I did talk to Aaron, and I said that was the first thing. I was like, it totally. And so he said that's what he was going for. So I was vindicated.
Which one?
Totally.
Going for which one?
The witches.
The witches. All right.
The witches. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But burned witches, because they were burned at the stake, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I saw it from the trailer. I was like, it's unmistakable to me. But you know what? That movie, if you didn't watch it as a kid, I don't think it sticks with you like it did with me. I was like, what? Because I think this movie did that for me too. It was like, whoa, that would be unfortunate if I was having sex with someone and then they
turned into a burnt witch. That would suck.
Yeah. Like,
especially
wow.
Especially right in the middle of it all.
Six, real
talk
fast.
about a buzz
stop. Yeah.
Or maybe you like that. I don't know.
No.
Never can.
I went down a dark path. I'm sorry, guys.
No.
Well, I really like that opening. I really like that opening sequence. I thought that was really well done and well shot. And actually, I don't know if you noticed, but there's the scene, that opening sequence where they're standing at the corner and you see what's going on in the background down the side of the house. That's similar to a scene right at the end of the movie where Jake is standing and down the side, Dodds is fighting the witches. It's very similar.
I love that.
When you watch it 3 times, you notice stuff like that.
You do. I need to watch this again. I love the shot when earlier on, before the attack is actually taking place, and we know it's starting to bubble, right? And the guy's running around. He's in the foreground, but behind him, you see the witches like on the ceiling, crawling around. I just love the aesthetic that they gave for this location, and where the witches were just bouncing around all over the place and jumping off onto them, and
that was a total surprise to me too. I mean, that was sort of a
it was very much like very much in that flavor, like when they turned into vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn. It had that it had that same feeling. So
sorry.
Yes, Dave, you always talk about the gore. We'll get to you, Crystal. You always talk about the gore.
Yes, there's plenty of it in here.
Plenty of it. Give us some examples. What really?
We got everything. I mean, what don't we have? There's ripped appendages. There's intestines flying. There's slit throats. It's all in here. I mean, that's Jeff watched it more times than he can probably give us a better breakdown. I already watched it one time. But the carnage was nonstop in the last third of the film. It was just.
It is.
Yeah, it was just nonstop, and
which bites on the leg.
Yeah. I think for the most part, obviously there was some CGI, and it actually, what's going to be my favorite scene is a heavy CGI scene, but I thought it really worked well. Nice. It was all just really well done. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Crystal, you were going to say something, and if you.
Basically, I was going to say that I think it's interesting that they managed to create 2 factions of characters that I was sympathetic toward both. I was actually sympathetic toward the witches, and I like that they have honor because they did do what they said they were going to do, which I value honesty and trust. And that's a big one for me. And honestly, how they came to be is just, Cotton Mather and that whole thing. Like, I love that he has the whole Cotton Mather character from, who's actually like a real person from the Salem witch trials and stuff. I love a lot of the history. The Pinkertons they even included in this. I just really dug all of that. But I think it's interesting that I kind of supported both in a weird, odd way. I mean, they just want to survive. I get it. I want to survive too. So yeah. So did anyone feel like the scene where he put the spur in the mouth? Okay, I know this is crazy, but it kind of reminded me of American History X, and it's nothing like at that. You know what I'm talking about? That for some reason I got that cringy feeling, that same cringiness. But I don't know. I think it has some moments in it that were actually really pretty tough for me.
Really? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Because I don't like the mouth stuff. It's like, oof.
Yeah.
Or Roman Polanski sticking the knife up Jack Nicholson's nose.
No, yes.
Yeah, that would have hurt. Yeah. And he, Sage sold that too.
Oh my God, didn't he? Yeah, that was a badass. It reminded me of Wolverine. All right, so we have a great cast. Let's talk about our two leads. If you talk about the brothers, right? Zachary Knighton is Duncan, and Devin Druid is Jake, right? So go on about them a little bit, because we've talked about some of the others, but we haven't really mentioned them so much. I mean, their plight drives the film, doesn't it? They're being orphaned, and then
I mean, I will talk, but I know I've been talking a lot, so I'm trying to give you guys a chance.
Go ahead, jump in.
Well, yes, but I also feel like they did a fantastic job as their characters, of course, and I loved them, but they're also the most humdrum and normal of the cast.
They are. They kind of are, aren't they?
It's not that I didn't love them. I did, and you need that to kind of ground you. And honestly, it makes sense with the movie. But I mean, then you have these like magical characters like Dodd and, what Wiley, what he does. I mean, with the whole thing I already mentioned, I'm like, all this stuff is so crazy and intense. And they kind of, they have a boring.
Their own band of brothers. I thought the script did a great job of developing tying those people together without overdoing the backstory, so to speak. Just neat little comments about, I'm trying to think of an example, like, have I ever steered you wrong? And yeah, plenty of times. Well, okay, we've been through a lot. That just tells you a lot about their relationship. They've been together for a long time. They can joke with each other. They trust each other.
Or they know when not to, as Dodd would.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the key to it, is that you feel that these characters do know each other. They're not just thrown together. They're not, expendables showing up out of the blue. They really are a gang, and they all have history with each other, and you feel that history. And I think that's really important. Is that for because of the author there, Jeff Mohr, for the source material?
I think I'd say that anyway. Just looking at it in terms of, we've got like eight characters that are riding across the range. They keep I forget the characters, the daughter, which is the one they find,
Pearl.
So there's 8 of them riding across the countryside, and we know we know the least about Pearl, and that's okay, right? And there's also things we don't know about. I'm branching off now, but about Jake and Duncan. We don't really know why that raid happened at their house until towards the end of the film, right? And I like that. It kept me interested in picking up little pieces of what was going on, and things stayed true, and their relationship to each other, and the bond with Lester, Stan Shaw's character. So all of that, I just thought it was really well written, and I do believe, I'd have to go look it up, but I'm thinking that whole idea of he had a daisy of a day or whatever. I think that must have been a slang term back then, because some of the other language that they used just fit well. A lot of the stuff Dodd said, I thought, sounded really colloquial, and he just delivered it so well. So I think it was a combination of the script and the cast and the direction, of course.
Yep. Well, I agree. I think, we have gore, we got witches, we got a great cast. What is there in a great script? What is there not to love? Let's find out what our final thoughts, our score, which is 1 to 5, and our favorite scene may be. But before we do, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe below. Hit the like button, hit the bell so you can get notified. Leave us some comments. We want to hear from you. Did you like this movie? Are you looking forward to this movie? Do you like Westerns? Is there a Western horror film that we forgot about that we need to mention? There probably is. I would imagine everything this side of what's that 70s one you love so much, Jeff? God Monster or something?
Oh, God, Monster of Indian Flats.
Yeah, there's your classic.
We just had a vampire Western called Curse of the Undead on Classic Era, Decades of Horror.
Yes. There's been some humdingers, as they say. I mean, especially back in the B movie days. All right, let's do it. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, favorite scene. Dreher, you are up first.
Well, I think we covered this one pretty well. I don't think there's too much left to say. It's a great movie, well written, very well acted. I really enjoyed Stan Shaw in this. He's probably the standout performance for me personally.
Hi, Healy. Sorry, go ahead. I don't know what I was saying. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I went into it not expecting much and came out really enjoying it. I'm going to give this one a 3.75.
Nice.
And my favorite scene, although it's very, very, I usually go for the real stuff. This was very, very CGI, but I just love how they pulled it off. Was when what was the older brother's name? Duncan. Yeah, when Duncan comes back again, I don't want to give away too much, but he's been gone. We've been led to believe that something bad has happened to him, and he comes back up, and the little brother sees him for the first time, and they realize that it's not actually him, and I believe it's Lester shoots him, and when he falls back, he just turns into a whole bucket. I can't remember who it is. Somebody shoots him, and he falls back and turns into like 300 bats, and they all bats fly away. Oh, wow, and it just looked really good. It was a real quick scene, but it was just graphically very
I really
satisfying. I liked it,
and I love bats, so
it was just a really, really well done scene. I kind of expected that it wasn't actually him, but I did not expect him to turn into 300 bats.
No, that was unexpected.
So, this is a good one. Definitely seek it out and watch it.
All right, Jeff Mohr, you're up next. What's your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for The Pale Door?
I like this a lot. I think I've said enough descriptions about it. I think folks ought to watch this. I'm giving this a 4.25.
Yes.
And my favorite scene is with a short story, and I had two compared this to From Dusk Till Dawn. I saw an interview with Robert Rodriguez after that movie came out, and he said he had the script from Quentin Tarantino came to pitch the idea to him, and he got to the scene in the bar when it gets to, I think it is midnight. And all the script says was, and then all hell breaks loose. Everything after that, they figured out. And that's going to be my favorite scene in this one is when all hell breaks loose in the brothel.
Yes.
When they figure out that scene. they figure out, I'm taking a whole lot and people can take pieces, but I just loved I thought it was really well choreographed. I think that's kind of what you were talking about, that it went on too long, but I thought it was pretty well choreographed. I think it's when she notices Melora's character, mother, finds out that Jake is the pure of blood. The pure
one, yes.
And she kind of looks up, and then every witch in the house goes, "Well,
they do.
That was the end of any pretense at that point. So anyway, I thought that was funny.
All right, Crystal Cleveland, you're up next. What is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for The Pale Door?
Obviously, I really like this movie, and it's on Shudder. It's going to be on Shudder, and if you don't have Shudder, you know how I feel about that. You're okay, but you really should have Shudder. So I think you should watch it. Absolutely. Bats, crows, witches, Western, bang, bang, shoot 'em up. I'm giving it a 4.
4!
And I got a couple scenes, but my favorite scene, I guess because it just really messes me up, is "Don't stop. I thought Dodd liked it dirty."
Oh, no. No. Yes, that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Doggy style with a burnt witch.
Stop! No. Yeah. All right. I like this film a lot too. I was a little nervous going into it. I thought the witches looked great in the trailer, but I didn't know what's this going to be. But it's a lot of fun. The cast had me. I'm just going to be honest with you that the first half of it was all about the cast, and I loved each and every one. It was just a nice grouping of different characters, and they played off each other well. It really had everything you would want out of these characters, just about, and the dilemma they find themselves in, feels right. If they're looking for treasure, instead they find Pearl, and what can they do? And then circumstances kind of make it a no-brainer. They have to, right? So the story supports everything, and of course the witches look fantastic. Oh my gosh, crawling on the ceiling. It's all fantastic, and I'm going to give this a 4 as well. Yay. I really am. I was teetering on 3.75, but I think I'm going to give it a 4. I usually do that as we talk about it. I get all hyped up, and that's okay. This one deserves
It's a Western.
It's a Western, and who knew, right? Favorite scene. There's a lot to go with, and what do I want to go with?
The anticipation's killing us.
I'm going to have to go with the witches crawling on the ceiling and jumping off the. It's just like, it's kind of what Jeff was saying, but a little bit more focused when they just first appear, because when they first appear in their witch form, they're just all over the place, and they're swarming in, and they're getting shot left and right, and they're clawing guys left and right, and they got the one guy stuck to the door, and the other one thrown down the steps, and then they leap off the banister onto him. Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was really got me going. I was like, yeah.
Nobody. I'm surprised nobody went with the she's crowning scene.
Yes.
Well, you know what else? There's a bloodbath scene.
It was on my list.
I've always wanted to do a bloodbath scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I almost
I
wanted to go with the bloodbath, but I wanted more bloodbath.
If I had a short scene, I was going to go with when the trunk moves. I mean, they find this trunk that's wrapped in ropes on the thing, and then it moves,
like the whole movie.
and you go.
Yeah. It was that, or when Brenda's on that guy.
Are you sure you don't want to go higher? Are you sure you got to hire?
All right, well, there you go. There's our review for The Pale Door, not The Pale Horse. The Pale Door. Get that right. Get that right, Doc. All right, it is coming out. Oh my gosh, when is it coming out, guys?
21st.
August 21st.
August 21st from RJLE, also Shudder. And then eventually will be arriving on Shudder later this year, but you're going to want to see it sooner than that. So check it out. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Pay the $5.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Oh, and I think iTunes, I think he posted something today that iTunes has some special something that goes with it. So if you get it on iTunes, you get some special, maybe behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. But yeah, special meaty treats.
Interesting meaty treats. All right, Crystal, Jeff, Dave, thank you for joining me tonight and
thanks for having us. Nonsense. It was super fun.
You're
always
welcome.
a good time.
I love you guys.
Oh, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.